teething issues last night. But my name is Lise. I'm one of the RLE's co-founders in Perth. And before we started the workshop, I wanted to give you a summary of the learning resources available for R. So the main purpose of this is a lot of you indicated that you hadn't used R at all yet and you're really keen to get on. So this list isn't exhaustive, but I'm hoping that you'll find something useful in there that you'll be able to use just to catch up and, you know, feel comfortable with using R for future workshops. So I did add one more slide because one member reminded me of someone else's work last night, which I forgot. So it's definitely not going to be exhaustive, but I'm hoping you'll find it useful. So last night I mentioned as well that I've been learning R for 6 years. Basically, I've used a number of different resources to get to how much R I know. So there's heaps of stuff out there. There's heaps of workshops. Well, not so much in Perth, which is why we've had a lot of people sign up. There's also workshops available over East or around Australia. There's online, more structured workshops and also some learning resources. So this I'll expand on shortly. So I believe that these learning resources can be summarized loosely into these 4 categories. There's obviously some crossovers, which you'll notice as I'm going through. But hopefully, yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say. So workshops and tutorials, I'm loosely summarizing as something more structured. So it could be in person, it could be online, it could be a book. So with today, I've left the ones that are in person unless they're associated with a conference, but I've got some of those at the end as well. So I personally haven't used Swell, but I did go out and ask a few people what learning resources they use, just so I made sure I got as much as possible. Now with Swell, you actually have to download R itself, and then you can get R Studio. So there's some instructions when you go to the website on how to do this. And then what you do is you install Swell, and then you library and then Swell to get it into your environment. And you actually do the workshop material itself in the R programming environment. So some people find this useful because they can actually, you know, get used to the coding itself while looking at the whole, getting used to the whole lot of terminology and everything at the same time. Another one, which is actually what we introduced in our workshop part 2 today, which slides will hopefully be up shortly, was RStudio Cloud. So with RStudio Cloud, it's a good learning resource because what they do is they have these primers that you could access and get, get additional information for different types. So you can start from just learning basic data structures right up to writing functions and doing some visualizations and data tidying. What they also have is this workspace, which you can have as many workspaces as you need. And these workspaces are really good if you're teaching, because what happens when you set up a certain workspace, so let's say you're teaching a big class, you can set up a workspace with the data and the packages involved, and then you can actually share that workspace with other individuals, so then they can actually have the exact same environment. And this also works if you've got like colleagues and stuff that want to see how reproducible your results are. So you can just share the workspace, and this is all done in the cloud as well. So you don't have to download any software to run these. And this one's free, I should add as well. So next, we have Coursera. So Coursera is one of the first structured programs I actually did. They generally range from about $50 to $100 per course, I believe. But you can do them so you enroll, and some are usually around 4 to 6 weeks. And then if you actually don't finish in that time, let's say things come up, you can actually re-enroll for the next session. So they do allow you to come out and then go back in if you need to. With this as well, they have data science. So this one has a data science specialization, which uses a lot of R, but then also interacting with SQL and the other databases like that. But what it does is it has a series of courses, and so it suggests 8 months in this case. And you could do one of the courses and then take a break if you wanted to, or so they are quite flexible. But the data science specializations, because they're bigger, they do tend to look a bit better. your CV, which you actually do get you can get a verified certificate that you can add to your CV and also to your LinkedIn profile as well. If you have any financial hardship, so let's say you're a single parent or you're in the low income bracket or you're a student or all of the above, what you can actually do is sign up for a scholarship. And I've been lucky enough to have 2 through Coursera. So they do allow you to sometimes have free access to these verified certificates, but you do have to apply for them every time and prove that you have that financial hardship. So that might be an option for some people as well while you're getting into it. Now, another one that I used early on was Udemy, which these ones, so Coursera, the good thing with Coursera, if you do the verified courses, is there's assessments involved and you have to pass a certain mark. So usually it's around 90% or 80 to 90%. It depends on the course. But with Udemy, there's no assessments, but you have the materials there. And it's the same sort of thing. So you will have a video lecture type of scenario. They'll go through some content. And then what you do is you then do the practice in your environment, your R sort of programming environment. So these are also very good. I personally did this one, but now it's free. So this one wasn't too bad at all. There was a lot of in-depth, not so much with the tidyverse and stuff, but there is quite a bit of visualizations, apply functions, and just making your own function yourself. So it goes up to a little bit more of an intermediate level if you are interested in that. Another one that I've only noticed recently is LinkedIn has a learning page. So with LinkedIn, the subscription is, it said $29.99 US a month, so it's around $40 Australian a month. But you can actually access as many of these courses as you want for that $30. So for some people that might be quite good. And if your institution has access, so I was lucky enough that the University of Western Australia actually has access to LinkedIn Learning. As a staff member, I have access to that. So I've actually already signed up. I haven't used these yet, but I figured I'd have a look at it at some point if I don't have anything else on. But these are good as well because they will add straight into your LinkedIn profile and if you want them to. So these, when I say LinkedIn profile, you don't have to add them, but if you want to, you can. Which shows, like, I guess, a degree of professional development in your whole journey. Another one I'll briefly mention is DataCamp, which I'm also signed up to. Same sort of price as LinkedIn Learning, so it's about $40 Australian a month, and you can do as many as you want. Again, you get you get a sort of a dashboard. They've got courses. I'm doing the data scientist track in R, but they also have the same track in Python. It also teaches you how to interact with SQL, Spark, and other sort of resources that you might come across while you're doing your data science activities. There's also courses that aren't involved in the specialization, which might be of interest to people. And there's also practice sections as well. So they have no lectures associated with them. They're just exercises for you to try and use those skills that you should have learned. So the videos go for about 2 to 5 minutes each, and then you have work in the sort of browser environment with the RStudio and a whole bunch of questions. So you don't actually have to download anything with this either. And again, you get a certificate at the end that you can put on LinkedIn if you want to or not. So that's up to you. And this you can do it at your own pace as well, I should say. So you can come in and, if you want to do 10 a week, you can do 10 a week, but usually I get through like 1 or 2 a month. Just depends on how I'm feeling. And the introduction to R, the first one in this series, is actually free if you want to try it out. Another one I found really useful, not so much a workshop in the sense that you watch something, but it's a really nice book, is this Introduction to Statistical Learning. I found the theory quite thorough. So what it actually does is go through and give you a lot of the underlying functions of what you will be doing in R and explains a few things better. Shows you how to actually run them, and then you have like a lab at the end of exercises that you can follow. So I've done a few of these. I found them really useful, and it's all available free. So if you find this website, you've got access to all the data sets. There's a package that has all the functions, the new functions. There's code as well if you need to check if you've done things right. So you can go back and have a look at those after each lab. And there's also a harder version available. So it's the next more advanced version if you get through this. But this is 400 pages. I tend to use it more as a reference if I'm running something I haven't really run a lot before. But they're very useful. So that might be something of interest for you as well. Another one which I added from last night was actually a book by Danielle Navarro. So Danielle Navarro is actually one of the art ladies in Sydney, and she has a nice book out, which is a tutorial sort of book as well, focused at psychology students and other beginners, but she uses a bit of humour in it as well. There's also data sets and also the source code associated with GitHub on there. So if you prefer something more in person, you can actually attend conferences in Australia. There's not many, but there is a few associated with our sort of workshops. Now, this one, Bio for Summer, actually has a full week of workshops after lunch, which was really good. It was actually in Perth for the first time last year, but it will be over Easter again this year. And if you can't wait until December, you can actually attend Bio for Winter School, which will be in Queensland. So it'll be nice to get out of the cold over winter. So this isn't open yet, but you can keep your eye on it online. Now, the good thing with these as well is there's usually travel scholarships associated with them. So again, if you have any financial hardship, you can apply for those. They also have a big push for women in STEM as well. So yeah, please have a look at those too. Now, other than that, there is other sort of workshops that are more specialized, I suppose, depending on your area that you might want to attend. So USAR was actually in Australia for the first time last year, but it'll be in France this year. But you can follow that also on Twitter. So it's, I think, USAR conf and then _ 2019, I believe, that one. So follow that if you want to keep up to date. There's also an R open site unconf, but this one's actually in Melbourne. The new date's not on there yet, but I know it will be running this year. So basically it's more of like a hackathon type of scenario, but you work in teams and stuff and you hear other talks, which would be really interesting. Our studio conference is in America, but if you can get over there, I'd highly recommend it. One of our other ladies has actually attended before and really loved it. So they do a lot of workshops there. Lawn is more specialized for genomics and its associated analyses, but they tend to have 1 or 2 days of our workshops, usually something RNA-seq related, which I've attended before, or something else, but that obviously is more specific for the sciences. Another one which could be of interest is Abacus, which is run around the same time as Unconf at the end of the year, so November. Now this is quite interesting. So it is Abacus conference, but then what it also has is the Bioconductor couple of days, I think it's Bioc Asia attached to it. So that's all the package developers specific for bioinformatics attend and actually have a meet. And also there's a combined symposium attached to it, which is focused more at early career researchers and students themselves. So all 3 events are kind of run at around the same time, and they do have workshops associated with it as well that you can sign up to. Lastly, I just want to put, I guess, a bit of a plug in for ResBaz, so Research Bazaar. We actually run this in Perth. So this will be run in July, the first week of July this year at Curtin University. So one of our other co-founders, Rebecca Lang, is actually the main organizer for this. And there's 3 streams. So there's an R stream, there'll be a Python stream and a machine learning stream. And these will be based on a software carpentry workshop. So they will be quite structured and a lot of people do enjoy them. There'll be lots of networking opportunities as well. And the good thing is this is more just data science sort of side of things. So it won't be specific for, genomics or biology if that's not what you want. So I'd keep an eye out for that as well. Okay, so that's all of the workshops and tutorials. Now I want to go into online materials, which you might have seen some there, but for this, online materials is less structured reference documents that you might use as well. So the R consortium I found quite useful. So they've actually got all the YouTube videos of the Use R 2018 plus some other sort of workshops. I will be sending some that I recommend to some people, but for beginners, there's an R Curious one that was actually run by R ladies from over east, which you might find quite interesting. I think it was our ladies, Auckland, Sydney, and Melbourne that ran that workshop, and then it was in 2 parts, so it's right at the beginning of all of this. If you scroll down, Danielle Navarro also did her talk, so you can see her talking about that book that I mentioned just before, and there's some other heavyweights like Jenny Bryan and also Roger Peng that you might be interested in. So check them out. They'll give you an idea of why R is the way it is, and there's this big sort of community for it. There's also other workshops in there as well that are more specific. Something I found particularly interesting when I was starting out was this cookbook for R, which you can look up. Still, I sometimes use it as a reference for graphing because they have good examples of how you might be able to tweak plots and put them together. But if you just go to this main website, there's actually basic functions for running statistics and doing some data cleaning as well. So we will be doing some of this at the next few workshops. So we've got a tidy workshop coming up, and then a visualization workshop and a reproducible research workshop. But this might be a good idea if you want to get started now on using it before then. So check that website out. Hadley Wickham, who's a heavyweight in R as well. So he's actually developed all these packages down here, some of which we'll be using over the next few workshops. But if you go to his website, this link here, R for Data Science, this book is actually free. So you can get on there and look at some basics, so importing data, tidying your data, and actually doing some modeling and visualization. So if you want to get on there, you can use that as a reference document as well. He has some other ones that are paid, but this is a good starting point too. I personally find Twitter very useful. So I signed up just over a year ago, and there's lots of different R ladies as well as, so R bloggers, which I'll mention shortly. Some other people that have created packages. They actually share their materials online through Twitter mainly. So they'll share, that's a whole book on how to do book down. It might be, so there's Tidyverse for Beginners if you wanted to have a look at that. That was from Our Lady Sydney last year. They'll put other workshops to other types of this. So this is interactive sort of plotting and machine learning as well. So you might find that by just signing up to Twitter and following all these sort of data scientists and statisticians and R, developers and stuff, package developers, that you'll learn a lot as well. I find them good just to learn of the new packages that are out there. Okay, so networks and communities. So I just mentioned R bloggers. So this is actually, I normally find R bloggers if I want to try a new model and I haven't used it before, and I Google it and it'll come up with an R bloggers tutorial that's very short, but it kind of gets the ball rolling and usually has links to harder workshops if you need them and all the packages and stuff. But when I was putting this together, I actually just went to the homepage, and there's actually lots of documentation here as well. So if you go to it, there's links to all the individual types of documents that you might use. Cheat sheets are very good. I will be bringing printouts of these to the next Our Ladies workshops. But they've also got big nets. So big nets are basically what they are is more of a walkthrough by the package developer themselves. So when you import the package into R, which will be part of part 2's workshop from last night, but when you import that package, you have some basic information about the functions, but the producers actually make these documents. So what they show you is actually how you would use that package in your analyses. And I also realized when I was on this page that you can subscribe, and that will give you the latest posts and stuff, so you can keep up to date with the different types of analyses and programming software that's developed for R. Now, Stack Overflow is going to be your best troubleshooting friend, but you can also go to the homepage and see what other people have been asking. When they ask, they tend to sort of have an informative title, so hopefully you know that it's something that you would find useful. They'll then have a problem description, and then they'll put their code in that they've used and why, show error messages or give a description of what they want and show you what they're actually getting. So that's also quite useful for learning different types of, I guess, options within functions too. Obviously, you can follow Our Ladies Global. So if you go to ourladies.org, you'll actually go straight to a list of all the different meetups around the world. So there's 138 chapters now. And some, especially so for Australia, Our Ladies Melbourne's been running for quite a while and have a lot of documentation. So we're just starting out at the moment. But you can go to the links and see what online presence they have as well and get access to. So I know Our Ladies Melbourne's on YouTube, so you can get access to some of their tutorials there, through Twitter, and then also they've been uploading everything to GitHub. So this will all be happening for us as well. But there's also access to other materials if you wanted to get on and have a look. Okay, so self-help and debunking errors. So this is as important as anything else, because as you're learning to get onto something, if you keep hitting barriers, you're not going to keep learning it, unfortunately. So this one's quite an easy one. People think that, when you get good at coding, that you just remember how to do all the things. This isn't the case. Google is actually your best friend. So usually what will happen is you'll get some sort of error out of your function. You then put that error into the search, and then you'll get a whole bunch of these posts that will come up. So you can see that this is Stack Overflow. Identify more recent ones, because obviously the older ones, they might have some useful answers in there, but there'll be different versions of our older versions, so it's better to get the newer versions if you can. So have a look. Obviously, the same error can come out of different functions, so you'll need to have a look at a few of them. And if you can't find what you need, then you'll have to post sign up for Stack Overflow and post your own question. And to do that, there's actually instructions through the Tidyverse as well, which is reprex. So this is a reproducible example. And if you go to this page, it's actually got information on what that is and how to actually put it together. So it'll actually give you something like this. So you can actually paste it in to your question, and then people can actually reproduce what you're doing so they can debug your error more thoroughly. So it's a very useful package. Anyway, that's the end for today. If you have any questions, please shoot us an email at perth@ourladies.org. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next workshop in a couple of weeks. Thank you.